As we've been talking about storytelling, I don't want to leave out the concept of telling stories without words. And this would be exciting, fun to play with kids, grandkids. Remember the first week of the month, we talked about telling stories with music and identifying feelings that come out through the music that's been composed. Well, let's talk a little bit about art and crafts and acting, mime in particular. How can those things tell stories, and how can we get our grandkids engaged in thinking about or telling stories that way? So, first of all, art. If you live in a city with an art museum, that would be a great place to start. Go look at some of the classic pieces of art and have your grandkids tell you what story they think the artist is telling with their painting or their diagrams. See what they come up with, because I think their imagination would go wild a little bit if they saw certain things. See the story. Try modern art where it isn't depicting exactly people or animals or skies. See what kind of stories they come up with for a piece of modern art, and just let their imaginations go. What do the colors and the shapes, bring to their minds as they're thinking about stories? And then crafts, have them make or draw people or animals and tell stories about them. Now, at the end, we want to tie all this back to family, so wait for that. Remember the day about when we learned in school about reading comprehension, where we were tested on what we remembered from the stories? Well, after you've spent some time talking with your grandkids about music and art and crafting and how those things can tell stories, have them begin to apply that to the family life. What kind of drawings that can they create that tell the story of their families? What kind of craft work? Might they make a doll with their mother or their father, or some family member, and depict that person in story form in a tangible object? And this is one that could be really fun. And we'd see if they comprehended the stories in their families. How about mime? Where they're acting but they're not speaking, and they're using only facial expressions and hands and movements. And ask them to tell the story about when Grandpa caught the big fish while they were out boating one day, or when their sibling, caught the big fish, or whatever the event was. Have them tell that story in mime actions and see what they come up with. If you've got any hams in your family, this will be a lot of fun. And you may get a little bit of trepidation at the beginning where they're not sure what to do. That's okay. Demonstrate for them. You can have fun with this too and look a little goofy. But if they catch on, they'll have a good time, and maybe they'll begin to tell the stories of their family and their lives in some very creative ways. Be grand, my friend.